The second half of the 1980s marked a rebirth for the American van, transforming it from a huge, truck-like monster into a relatively small vehicle that could fit in a garage and more closely resembled a passenger car, earning the prefix Mini. The pioneers of this type of vehicle, at least in America, were Chrysler, with the introduction of the front-wheel drive Dodge Caravan and Plymouth Voyager. And while these minivans certainly deserve their own video, today's topic are not them. In response to the boom and popularity of Chrysler's minivans, General Motors released the Chevy Astro and GMC Safari just 2 years later. However, due to their construction and rear-wheel drive, these minivans still resembled trucks rather than cars, which resulted in less demand. Moreover, Chevrolet missed their opportunity to release their minivan back in the 1970s, during the development of the TASC system, or Total Automotive Systems concept, which was supposed to streamline and simplify the car creation process. From the TASC system emerged the X-platform cars, such as the Chevrolet Citation, Pontiac Phoenix, Oldsmobile Omega, and Buick Skylark. Although the potential profitability of a small van was already documented at the time, and GM even released an X-platform concept called the Chevrolet Nomad 2, which somewhat resembled the later Astro, it was decided not to put it into mass production. This decision played into Chrysler's hands, allowing them to capture the larger piece of the market. However, GM was not willing to accept defeat yet, and still aimed to catch up with Chrysler by releasing their own front-wheel drive minivans, the Pontiac Trans Sport, the Chevy Lumina APV, and the Oldsmobile Silhouette. Let's get started. The first public appearance of GM's future minivan came with the introduction of the Pontiac Trans Sport concept car at the 1986 Chicago Auto Show. Based on the stretched platform of the mid-size Pontiac 6000 sedan and featuring plastic body panels, this concept had panoramic glass, a glass roof, and a helicopter-like windshield design, a styling cue also seen in some other GM concepts at the time, like the Buick Wildcat and GMC Centaur. The Transport also featured a gull-wing door mechanism for the passenger's door, not to mention its interior features, including a CRT dashboard, a heads-up display, a quirky-looking multi-function steering wheel, and even an NES console in the rear row to entertain kids during trips. Under the hood, the concept was equipped with a front-wheel drive 2.9-liter aluminum turbocharged V6 engine, which was initially planned for the second generation of the Fiero, but neither the engine nor the second generation Fiero went into production. However, even before this show car appeared, Chevrolet was already working on a production minivan, using Chrysler's offerings as a primary benchmark. By the time the Transport concept was unveiled, the design team, led by Dick Rusin, had mostly finished developing the design of the future vehicle. Though Pontiac had negotiated with GM in order to release their minivan as the first of the bunch, after which they had released the concept itself. At the time, Pontiac wanted to be seen as the design leader of the entire corporation, so that explains their tricky decision. In the end, the Pontiac Trans Sport was released in the same year as the Chevrolet Lumina APV, sharing its name with a passenger car, and the premium Oldsmobile Silhouette, the idea of creating which emerged almost at the last minute, aiming to compete with Chrysler's premium offering, Town and Country. The vehicles were built on a platform with a galvanized space frame, known as the U-body or GMT 199. The car's bodies, like that of the Transport concept, were made of plastic, a decision that Dick Rusin did not support. As he said, "It was entirely a Chevrolet engineering and manufacturing decision. In my mind, it was a bad one, because the result of that decision was Chevrolet missed the weight target, they missed the fuel economy target, and they missed the price target." One of the core issues in using the plastic was accounting for its propensity to swell in hot weather, like that in the American West or South. So, consequently, you had to have big panel gaps to accommodate. The foreign cars looked like precision instruments, and the GM cars had these huge gaps, which was not good. The initial choice of powertrain was also not good. While the concept had a 235 horsepower turbocharged V6, the production vehicles were equipped with a naturally aspirated 3.1-liter V6 engine with just 120 horsepower, known as the LG6. This engine drove the front wheels through only a 3-speed automatic transmission. And of course, 120 horsepower was definitely not enough for a vehicle weighing 3,750 pounds. All three minivans, like their Chrysler competitors, could offer seating for up to 7 people. And while Chrysler offered either benches or individual seats, depending on the model, GM chose to use only individual seats. Each could either be folded down and used as a table, thanks to plastic panels with 2 cup holders on the backs, or easily detached and removed from the vehicle, which was not difficult as each seat weighed only about 30 pounds, ultimately providing ample cargo space. However, for those who wanted to use these minivans for cargo transportation, Chevrolet offered the APV in a panel van variant to compete with the panel Grand Caravan CV. This model was sold as the APV, dropping the Lumina name. The cargo APV had only 2 seats and a rubber floor mat, providing a cargo capacity of 133 cubic feet and a maximum payload of 1,135 pounds. Almost immediately after their release, these minivans earned the nickname Dustbusters from auto journalists due to their long, sloping windshields that seamlessly blended into the front of the vehicle, resembling the handheld vacuum cleaners made by Black & Decker. The driving position, set far back from the windshield, also proved to be problematic. It created a disconnected feeling from the road, described by some as like steering from the back seat. Additionally, there was an enormous empty space between the dashboard and the windshield, which even caused glare in early models. By 1992, a 3.8-liter V6 engine from Buick, producing 170 horsepower, was introduced as an option. This new engine came paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission with overdrive. And along with a minor facelift of the Silhouette the following year, these minivans were introduced to the European market, but with a slight twist. The only officially available minivan in Europe from the trio was the Pontiac Trans Sport, primarily sold through Opel dealerships. However, what was presented as the Trans Sport was actually a Silhouette, just with Pontiac badging and the Oldsmobile trim pieces removed. It's also worth noting that the European transports were the only minivans to receive 2.3-liter inline-4 engines known as Quad 4, producing 160 horsepower. These were also the only versions of the minivan available with a 5-speed manual transmission. Perhaps the only exception to this were the peculiar, low-volume Chinese-made versions based on the Lumina APV, known as the Nushan JB6500, which had the 2.2-liter 87-horsepower engines from Chrysler that powered the rear wheels through a 5-speed manual transmission. By 1994, in response to pretty negative feedback on the vehicle's design from buyers and lackluster sales, the Trans Sport and Lumina APV underwent a facelift. The front overhang was shortened, and they now featured headlights from the 9th generation Pontiac Bonneville. Additionally, these minivans were now equipped with a remote-controlled passenger door that could be activated by pressing a button inside the cabin or on the key fob. And while this might not seem particularly innovative today, the Dustbusters were actually the first American minivans to offer this feature. Starting this year, the Chevy's offering was renamed as the Lumina minivan, while the cargo van retained the APV name and was produced until 1996. The Silhouette remained the only minivan of the three that did not go through this facelift, meaning the European transports also retained their original appearance. Interestingly, the Oldsmobile Silhouette received some unique publicity in the 1995 film Get Shorty. In the movie, the main character, Chili Palmer, expecting a rented Cadillac, is instead given an Oldsmobile Silhouette. When told that the Silhouette is the Cadillac of minivans, he starts using the phrase himself.
Hey, Chili, is this your ride? Yeah, I'd like to sit up high, check everything out. I mean, it is the Cadillac of minivans. Oh. Yeah, check this out.
You mind if I take it for a spin?
However, in reality, the true Cadillac among minivans at the time was the Chrysler Town & Country, with the Silhouette merely trying to catch up. And indeed, the attempts by the Silhouette and the other two minivans to catch up with the Chrysler's competition were largely unsuccessful. Bob Lutz, then president of Chrysler, remarked, "We watched the rollout of these suppositories with morbid fascination, wondering if they would damage our minivan sales, and they did not." Additionally, Ford had already caught up with the latest trends. Their initial hasty attempt to match Chrysler's success was the rear-wheel drive Ford Aerostar, but by 1993 they introduced the Mercury Villager based on the Nissan Quest, and by 1994 the Ford Windstar, both more traditional front-wheel drive minivans with a two-box body design. General Motors really needed to respond if they wanted to avoid losing the minivan market. As a result, the original Dustbusters were discontinued after 1996, and the factory in northern Tarrytown, which Chevrolet had acquired in 1915 but had been in operation since 1896, officially ceased vehicle production and was dismantled. Production of the second-generation U-body minivans, known as the GMT 200, began at the Doraville factory. Though the minivans of the GMT 200 and subsequent 201 series definitely stood out much less compared to the Dustbusters, with the second generation of U-body minivans, General Motors decided to conform to market standards rather than continue experimenting. The new minivans adapted to a more conventional two-box body design and, in comparison to their vacuum-like predecessors, did not stand out much around the competition. Eventually, with the third generation of U-body minivans, GM decided to abandon the pursuit of dominating the minivan market. Ford did the same, ending production of the Freestar in 2007. Both companies admitted defeat, declaring Chrysler, the pioneer of the American minivan, as the winner. And to this day, Chrysler remains the only American automaker still producing minivans. You've been watching Redline, and if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and go check out some other videos as well. And I'll see you in the next episode.